All right, Richie Mars, what's up, buddy? So we have the women's War Games match here, and I think they are making chicken salad out of chicken shit because I don't really think this should be a War Games match. I think this is probably better from an elimination style since we have a bunch of mixed feuds here. And like I said, it's a chicken salad of a bunch of women in this match. So overall, what's your kind of sentiment on this match?
I kind of agree, mostly because it just feels like they're putting war games as like, the stipulation just to have the women's war games match. And it
There's
doesn't
plenty
feel
of
like
equality. We don't need it, right?
the thing is it's just like if had Rhea not have gotten hurt, I feel like the stronger build might have been there,
Okay.
because they played with that story of Rhea doesn't get along with any of the women. But she was taken out and now she's a part of this war games team where you have a lot of like mixed kind of relationships, which isn't a bad thing. But if you go by the PLE we had before, you have Liv and Nia on the same team. So seemingly they squash their beef, kind of, not really. They have like a mutual understanding. Then you have the Tiffany Stratton Nia thing, and then you have the Candice LeRae factor in there, the Raquel Rodriguez. So that team, like, it makes sense on paper. It's all the bad guys, bad girls on Raw and SmackDown combining as one evil force. And then you have the babyface side where it's like you had the tag team champions, but now Jade's ridden off. You had Rhea who came back, and now you have Io Sky Naomi, and now you have Bailey, which the Bailey Bianca relationship has kind of been teased here and there of being very tumultuous ever since, the Bianca damage control thing in the first time. So there's a lot of different elements and stories at play. It's just I feel like they're just hodgepodging everybody's story into one just to have a war games match.
Yeah, it's it definitely feels like they're kind of just jamming it in there, and there is enough here to kind of justify it, but the overall, I don't know. It's just like, well, there's been other years where it's felt more like of a thing. This year, it just
Mhm.
feels like, oh, it's November, so it's War Games time, right? So
Yeah.
I wish it just didn't have that feel because I don't think that the individual feuds justify it outside the big one, like you mentioned. If Rhea hadn't gotten hurt, then perhaps we might have felt that, but still, that's a one-on-one thing, not a five-on-five thing.
Mhm.
Speaking of five-on-five, we had a
Mhm.
change. I think it's announced. We are releasing this on Tuesday, but overall,
Mhm.
Bailey seems to be the one that is going to replace Jade in the injury angle. I don't think it's an angle.
Mhm.
I think she's actually hurt.
Right.
And I think it was kind of revealed last night. It's safe to assume, anyways, that it was revealed last night when she was there to assist or cheer on Bianca
Mhm.
Belair winning the War Games advantage.
Mhm.
So first, what do you think of the baby faces winning the advantage? It doesn't really upset me because they should be times where the baby face has the advantage.
Mhm.
And overall, too, what do you think of Bailey as a replacement? Probably match quality wise, I would assume that it's probably for the better. But I think Jade could have done some really cool power stuff in this war game. So overall, what's your thoughts on Bailey, and then with the
Um,
ladder of Jade?
yeah, with Bailey, I think she's a fine addition. I think Bailey makes any match better from a ring psychology standpoint, from a story standpoint, especially now when you're having, Bailey's story being Bianca looking, the leopard never changes its spots, so to speak, or the cheater like stripes, whatever. It's a different color figuration where it's like Bailey is trying to be presented as this baby face, but you have distrust within the other baby faces, and that's can either go one or two ways. Where Bailey's either revealed as the eventual attacker of Jade Cargill, or there's another person which I have my theory on who it could be, but that's for later, so to speak. You know what I mean?
You can let it out of the bag a little bit. I
I
don't think
mean,
that's
I
going to
mean,
hurt.
I think Naomi was a pretty big suspect, all things considered. First on the scene with the whole Jade Cargill being evacuated to a local medical facility. You
That's back,
have,
right?
yeah, you have, Naomi hasn't really had much of the spotlight on her, and Jade was actually in Naomi's tournament bracket. So eventually Naomi would have had to face Jade Cargill in order to get to the finals of the U.S. Championship tournament. So that makes her pathway a little bit easier. So yeah, I think Naomi is a prime candidate if you want to look at it that way, because there hasn't really been much focus on Naomi. I feel like Bailey's like sort of the red herring right here. We're gonna have this whole thing where Bianca and Bailey are gonna sort of like tease having a friendship or something, but then things are gonna be set up in such a way that Bailey is gonna be like, handing the cookie jar where it looks like she did it, but then it turns out Naomi's the one who planned it all along. You know what I mean? Because I mean, she married into Rikishi's family, so vehicular accidents aren't really far from the tree, so to speak. So that's how I think I see it going. But with the baby faces winning the numbers advantage, it's always kind of awkward to me because you always want to see like the baby faces kind of fight from underneath in such a way. And I feel like because Rhea is still fresh off her injury, I think it would just make sense that she would be the final person. But throws a wrench in the plans and not in like a negative way. It's just like I wonder how they pull it off, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like, well, first of all, I can't let it go. Do you think Naomi did it for The Rock? And then, and then secondly, I wonder if a name you haven't talked about. We could talk about it because Jade's involved. Like
Mhm.
Charlotte Flair. Like I'm curious how she would be framed, and there is history with her and Naomi. They could easily skate through that history, right? And say maybe
Right.
Charlotte, because I've been pitching all along. Charlotte should come back in a stable. Like that's something that she's never really done, is
Right.
lead a group, right? And I think Naomi would kind of work, or would someone around her foil be someone interested around there? So I think I wouldn't rule out Charlotte either, but that's down the road, so to speak. But I think that's interesting to talk about here. Do you think, in real quick, do you think Jade's really injured, or do you think it's an angle?
I think she's really injured. I think them not
Unfortunately, yeah.
announcing anything with the tag team championships yet. I think once they announce something with that, that's gonna add some more legitimacy to if this is a write off injury or just like a story thing. So I do think like she's gonna be out for a little bit, and I think it's then it's a good pivot, because you had some teases with Rhea and Bianca, you had some teases with Bailey and Bianca early in the year. You have Io Sky always great in the mix, so it's like you always have these different pieces that WWE has within the women's division that they haven't utilized fully. And now that we have the introduction of the U.S. and the Intercontinental Championships for both the women's divisions, hopefully that's a good sign that they're gonna kind of like present more stories and opportunities.
3 hours too, yeah.
As we've seen for in the bulk of the 2010s, if you were the U.S. or IC champion, you were kind of put in the death spot, so to speak, for a good while, where it's just kind of like you like they have plans for you, but it's like a placeholder where it's like you would lose non-title matches consecutively to like the main event guys, but then you always squeak out a win here or there just to kind of get a little something. So again, I'm just hoping like the overall writing with the women's division gets a little bit more cleaner.
Hopefully those tropes are passe since there's different kind of leader up top of
Mhm.
the creative side of things.
Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
see.
So I'm going to run down this 5-on-5 match, and then you kind of tell me which doesn't fit or which piques your interest.
Mhm.
Candice LeRae, Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, Nia Jackson, Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca Belair, Bailey, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, and Naomi. We already talked about Naomi a little bit here. We talked about a little bit with kind of Bailey as well. So what
Mhm.
piques your interest with the remaining names? And who doesn't fit, if anyone?
I'm not sure if anyone doesn't fit because they kind of explain both sides pretty
Mhm.
well, despite like how haphazardly everyone kind of united, just like on the same page, so to speak. Because Liv and Raquel, they've had a history. Then you have Naomi, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. That's been established on television. Uh, you've had the establishment of Bailey not trusting Io Sky or because she was a part of Damage Control. They had their whole thing in WrestleMania this year.
Yep.
Then the whole Bianca Bailey stuff, like I mentioned previously, the Naomi trying to bring everyone together, and then you have Rhea Ripley. Like from a story sense, it makes sense that why Rhea Ripley's in this match, to get at Liv Morgan. But for in terms of a feud, the Rhea Liv stuff, if you take Dominic out of the equation, neither of them have really changed as characters prior to the switch of Rhea being the babyface and Liv being the heel, or yeah, So it's just kind of
Yep.
like there's no character development for either one of them, and I feel like this is a match just for the sake of varying things up for them. And Rhea and Liv are both popular faces on the show, so even if the story's not doing anything for me, I could understand why they're having this um, as kind of like a highlighted match, so to speak. But it's like I don't feel like their story is really needed in this match, so to speak, just because like I feel like it's tough because it's like you had a bunch of the Liv and Rhea kind of holding the title hostage for a good chunk of the year, and you had like a quick spell with Becky. But now it's just kind of like we're kind of ready for something different, and now we have Io Sky. You never really had that interaction between Io and Rhea because Io's the number one contender for the
Mhm.
championship. Rhea just came back, so I feel like that stalled her momentum a little bit. So it's a bunch of like mixed feelings. I feel like if they had a couple more weeks to really develop like the relationship on the babyface side, maybe I would feel a little bit different about it. But overall, like you have a bunch of talented women in this match, and I feel like the heel side more than the babyface side has like a more legitimate reason to be a team than the babyface side in general. But again, injuries happen. Story can only be told so much if you don't know if somebody's going to be ready in time for the match. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, they're making like we said earlier, they're making whatever this is work. All
Mhm,
right, there's a WrestleMania main event potentially within this match
mhm,
that it's kind of not spoken about, and I think we could see a little bit of a snail's pace towards that because in the past we've seen Bianca and Rhea have face-offs. I think
mhm,
after WrestleMania 39 they were both champs and they did the night after WrestleMania like holding the
mhm,
Raw and SmackDown titles in each other's faces and being like,
mhm,
yeah, we're that, that girl or whatever, right?
mhm,
So, and we saw a tease last night on Raw of who is the actual leader here when
mhm,
they were searching for that fifth person. And Bianca showed kind of an attitude, was like, I don't want Bailey. I don't want Kyrie Sane. I don't care, but who should we get? Like there was a kind of a little bit of a character twist coming
mhm,
perhaps with Bianca, maybe a new edge, right? And then we saw the conquering Rhea, who is instantly sympathetic with the face garb or whatever, right? And saying, I don't care who's the fifth member, she just better not get in my way because I want to destroy Liv Morgan and get my belt back.
mhm,
So we see both women right now. Neither of them are champion besides the tag team champions, but neither of them are
mhm,
at the peak of where they were at the singles reigns within the women's
mhm.
division. And I just saw uber like star power shining. And it's been a while since the women have main evented at WrestleMania, the last being Belair. And I I feel like it could definitely be warranted. I don't think it feels like 41 because I think The Rock would have a lot to say about that, but perhaps like a 42
Mhm.
where there's organic seeds. I think these two could main event at WrestleMania. Do you think that they could? Am I out of my mind for saying that?
No, you're not out of your mind. I think it's very plausible, because out of the two, I guess, new women that have been branched off into megastars that WWE have been pushing, it'd be Bianca and Rhea. They were on the cover of one of the 2K video games. They,
Together. Yeah.
yep, they were on the last, when Bianca won the Rumble, they were the last one and two
Mhm.
people who were in that match where Bianca won. And
Their
Rhea's
lives have been the
popularity
same, yeah.
yeah, Rhea's popularity has skyrocketed. I think they cooled off Bianca a little, but I think that's just more of to give her a different role because Bianca was doing the babyface Superman Wonder Woman role for a while as champion. So
Yep.
it like you have to change the formula up before you have people starting to turn on her a little bit. And I think now is probably the time where you can kind of test those waters and you can kind of see like if people are interested in this match. I think people are. I don't think it's really a match that's been overused or even done in general. So I think if you build it correctly and right, I feel like 42 would be a great place. Um, if Jade doesn't come back, you might have a chance for 41 if you want to
Yeah.
take it like that. But I feel like there's a different kind of match in mind for the women for WrestleMania. I'm not sure if anybody's going to like it, but again, we have the Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton kind of story going on. Nia's a queen. We're gonna have a queen coming back, so it would kind of make sense to have queen versus queen, and then you
That
have
feels like the Rumble. That doesn't feel like
and then
WrestleMania.
you have the princess kind of cash in on the two queens to be the super de duper queen or whatever you want to call it. So that's what I feel like might be kind of going in that direction. But who knows? I've been wrong before, but I feel like creative they do like their branding, and I feel like the opportunity of queen versus queen is like too rich for them to pass up.
I think it's eventually feel that just doesn't feel like WrestleMania. All right, so we've hit a lot here, Richie. We're at the end. Honestly, I could see this going either way. Like I could see Naya is kind of strong enough, right, to go ahead and like defeat like a Naomi, and that may
Hmm.
even kilter Naomi's potential turn even more.
Hmm.
I don't see a Belair or a Rhea getting pinned, and I don't think they want to pin Io Sky either. But I could see
Hmm.
Bailey coming in, getting pinned, losing for the team, being the fifth member, and really triggering something when within that group. I'm kind of leaning the heels here, but then I see
Hmm.
Candice LeRae or Liv Morgan or even Nia Jax or Tiffany Stratton could get pinned as well, right? I don't think they're going to pin
Hmm.
Raquel. So I feel that there's a lot of vulnerability here on
Hmm.
either side to justify a win and a loss. I would
Hmm.
probably go 60% the baby faces are going to win, but I'm just
Hmm.
going to go ahead and pick the heels. I feel
Yeah.
that Rhea is going to pin Liv, but then
Hmm.
I feel that maybe like Tiffany, a shine put on her is
Hmm.
something else that they should do as well. So,
Yeah.
what say you?
I feel like I'm leaning towards the baby faces. I think last year both babyface teams won war games.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's going to be the case this year, just because there's a lot of factors involved for the men's war games match. I feel like it'd be simpler for the women if the baby faces won, because again, you have Io Sky who needs momentum going into her title shot. You have Rhea who's getting her first match back after being taken out in the parking lot, and then you got to have that connective tissue of Bailey, Naomi, and Bianca kind of like squashing their beef and plant seeds in that story. So I think it's a safer pick for the baby faces to win.
yeah.
I could see the heels win, but it's like I think out of the two teams, if you were to just ask me like you just did, I think the baby faces probably have this one in the bag. And I think you have like Candace or Tiffany will probably be the candidates to be pinned, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like it would hurt Candice, where Tiffany could kind of absorb it and be totally fine, right?
Yep.
So,
And this is like Candace's first like main roster kind
yeah,
of showcase. So I don't think her losing would really do anything of much to her. And I think like Tiffany losing would just kind of cause that little rift between her and Nia even more. So I think it just kind of makes sense that she would take the fall, but who knows? Who knows how they're gonna portray it? And again, like you said before, they kind of like turned all this mess into chicken salad, so to speak, and they'll make it work.
yeah. Like I said, we're here at the end of the preview, and I still think it's going to be a pretty good match. There's like, oh, there is a lot of stars in here, right? There is a
Mhm.
lot of juice with the feuds. It just feels like it shouldn't be a war game, but they're gonna go
Mhm.
out there and probably kill it and have a really good match, I assume.
Mhm. Yeah, they're probably gonna kick off the show, I would imagine,
Yeah, it's a good
and
call.
then they would like start the crowd off hot, and then you just kind of go on from there. And I think we're gonna see a bunch of crazy spots from Io. We're gonna see some spots from Candice, from Tiffany, and you're just gonna see a bunch of madness from everybody involved. And you're gonna see some story beat stuff too. That's gonna probably play into the next couple weeks to a couple months. So I can't wait to see how these women perform.
Awesome. All right, Richie. Well, we'll see you on the next one, buddy.
All right, looking forward to it.